have gotten so political and crazy lately, I thought it was time to take a step back, remember my roots, and realize that there's still a lot of radical third-wave feminism going on in the video game community. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle. That's right, in a breath of fresh air after all the political division we've been getting of late, I got to see a Game Rant article talking about how the Resident Evil ending with the Winter Saga is sad news for Mia, a female character that frankly nobody cares about. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get into this. Before we do, hit that subscribe button. Nerdy news channels like mine are ones that allow us to grow free speech and make sure that we nerds are actually heard and not have to fall behind any particular narrative. So if that interests you, hit that subscribe button and let's go over this article. I mean, it's from Game Rant, so you know it's already gonna have a particular lean to it, but Resident Evil has a habit of glossing over beloved characters, and Mia is one of its latest to lack any profound development in the series. Now, I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna ask you guys this as a general question to all my Resident Evil fans, and even non-Resident Evil fans, who people just enjoy the modern Resident Evil games without having gone back and played the classics, like, you know, a poser. Do you care about Mia? She's playable in one segment of Resident Evil 7 for like 15 minutes. Who really cares about Mia? Like, she was never a beloved character. I don't really think anyone from Resident Evil 7 and 8 are beloved characters, except Lady Dimitrescu, and, well, really, there's only two reasons for that. Resident Evil Village is a feast for all things fantastical and nostalgic, especially when it comes to what helped make Resident Evil 4 special. But unfortunately, its entire narrative hinges on a plot twist. This twist is rewarding when looking back on how it's set up, and yet in order to fulfill it at the end of Resident Evil Village, Capcom needed Resident Evil to make egregious and inexplicable choices so the truth would be hidden from Ethan Winters. I will agree with them there. Chris Redfield was completely out of character. In fact, I'm one of the individuals to think that Resident Evil 8 was a good game, but an atrocious Resident Evil game. That being said, it's January 3rd of 2024. Why are we writing articles and caring about Resident Evil 8? The game's been out for a while. In fact, about two and a half years, I believe. It's done its job. It's given us the willies. It's, you know, guys talking about Lady D and her double Ds. There's really nothing left for Resident Evil in terms of Resident Evil 8. Why are they making an article about this? Well, as you will see, it's because they want to spin a particular agenda. They want to talk about a certain narrative. They want to get you all riled up because apparently it is only the female characters that get mistreated. Somehow, Resident Evil's Mia Winters knew about Ethan Winters while Chris didn't. For instance, she's conveniently tucked away for all of Village so the truth couldn't come out sooner. Village in general doing away with Mia was odd. Mia wasn't playable as much as Ethan was in Resident Evil 7, but she's far more prominent as a character, and she's who the story of the 7th mainline installment revolves around. Is she though? Like, is she who the story revolves around? If you want to give credit to anyone, you could say it is Evelyn the story revolves around. I mean, yes, Mia is there. Mia is the reason for Evelyn having been undone, but you play as Ethan. You try to find, the whole game is about trying to find Mia, so I would think that Game Rant would want to throw a fit about how, oh, it's a fetch quest for a woman, effectively. I mean, they're really just doing everything they can to build up Mia as this just fantastic character that everyone's so upset hasn't gotten much done with her, despite the fact that, again, she's been in 2 games and is little more than a prop. Even Shadow of Rose completely disregards Mia, and if the Winter Saga is truly meant to be finished now, it'll be a shame that Mia wasn't given the attention and development that Ethan got. Well, Ethan was the main character. Ethan was the character that you were meant to follow. He's who you played as, and frankly, he wasn't much of anything. He didn't have much of a personality. You didn't even see his face because it was a first-person game. They wanted to superimpose that upon you, the player. They wanted to be incumbent upon you, the person who was playing the game, to feel like you're in this messed-up situation. Now, do I think that was a good choice for Capcom to make? Honestly, it doesn't really matter what I think. I think there's pros and cons about first-person Resident Evil and about Resident Evil 7 and 8. But at the end of the day, what really matters is that Ethan was the main character. Why are we throwing a fit about Mia? That would be like if I was to play a Sonic the Hedgehog game and be very upset that Amy Rose or Tails weren't the main characters. Well, it's not their characters in the story, don't get me wrong. But why would you be so upset that after a couple of games, Resident Evil's moving on, and that this side character, who was never intended to be the main character, did their job to act as a side character? And again, note how they're only doing this with female characters. Resident Evil 7 made Mia as important as Ethan, if not more. Mia is who Resident Evil 7 opens with, and you know, we're not even going to read this entire thing. You get the point here, you know? they're building up that Mia was supposedly this amazing, important character. You see this title here, Resident Evil Village neglected to make Mia an actual character. Well, it's because they didn't make Ethan a character either. The characterizations of these characters in these games were not great. Ethan, not really a character. Mia, you say it yourself, not really a character. Chris, horribly, horrifically, insultingly as a fan, out of character in Resident Evil 8. Instead, it seems as if Capcom was happy to dispose of Mia after Resident Evil 7, and the Winter Saga supposedly concluding now makes sense as a massive waste of Mia's character. I thought you just said up here that she wasn't an actual character. Mia would join a long list of Resident Evil characters cut down in their prime, following Jill Valentine and Claire Redfield as women of the franchise who should surely reprise down the line. Notice how they only talk about women. Billy Cohen, only in one game. Carlos Oliveira, only in one game. Luis Serra, well, granted, he dies, maybe he doesn't count. Either way, only in one game. I mean, the Resident Evil does this all the time. They introduce characters, male or female, whatever, and they're only in the one game. That's a pretty common thing for Resident Evil to do. I got no issue with it. Jill had a pretty conclusive ending to her story arc. She doesn't need to be brought back. Would I love to see it? Absolutely. She's my favorite video game character, arguably of all time, and absolutely my favorite Resident Evil character. So would I love to see Jill come back? Yes. Was she cut down in her prime? No. Same with Claire Redfield. Claire Redfield, she's been in a ton of games, a ton of movies. Most recently, she was in the Resident Evil Netflix Into Darkness or whatever series, which granted, that series sucked, but it's still canon to the games. Claire was in that. She was in the Resident Evil 2 remake. I mean, yeah, Claire has gotten her due. In fact, quite a bit more than Jill lately. But I'm curious, what is it with these articles? What is it with these outlets who want to farm this level of division, who want to farm this incredulity when it comes to women in gaming? I mean, look, I understand. G4's been gone for a while. Frost been out the gate. Feminist frequency shut down. Anita Sarkeesian, is she around anymore? Is she doing anything? No, I don't think so. Who cares? Is there... You can't tell me that this is a financial moneymaker. You can't tell me that when Game Rant is making articles like this about games that aren't even trending. Now, I can understand wanting to sow division about games that were trending. If there was a new up-and-coming game and you thought, I'm going to write a divisive article to cash in on it with the ad rev, that would make perfect sense. But that's not going on here. Who is this article for? I mean, you could claim that that's how this is proof. This is artistic, this is artistic integrity, journalistic integrity, because, hey, this is clearly for the Resident Evil fans. Resident Evil fans, wrong arm. Resident Evil fans like you're going to be reading it, right? I mean, to be fair, I was curious, but I was curious because I was wondering how divisive it would be. I was wondering how agenda-driven it would be, because Game Rant's name is now synonymous with radical feminism or fake game journalism, and that's kind of the sad part. What outlets do you look out for now and think this is going to be some truly honest game journalism? I can't think of any off the top of my head. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll watch YouTubers like Mugen Lord and Cult Classic Cage when I want some game journalism. I know, of course, they're going to be accurate, or if not accurate, at least honest, have integrity, and if they do make mistakes, correct themselves later. I mean, no one's getting that from Game Rant. Maybe you get that from Niche Gamer. Maybe, and even other people have called them just a knockoff of Bounding into Comics. So at what point do we just tell these individuals, man, shutter your doors? Kotaku? Gone. The Mary Sue? Gone. Game Rant, Screen Rant, all the other type of rants? Gone. I don't need to sit here and see multiple articles about how a character is an underrated, lambasted female character and Capcom is sexist 2.5 years after the game came out. The game itself, to be real, it was a pretty mid-game. Now, if I'm to be completely fair to the situation, this is not the most egregious example of any sort of radical third-wave feminism we've seen in gaming outlets. Now, also, to be fair to myself, I did read the article in advance and skipped over a bunch because, unlike what some other articles I've read, like, some by Jade King, for example, Jade King goes all in, just shoves it all in there and makes it as bombastic and radicalized as possible. Now, Jared Stewart, the guy that wrote this article, he was, at least by comparison, far more subtle with it. Doesn't mention the fact, except for only about 2 or 3 times, that the character is female, just happens to only talk about female characters, and then only talks about how the character doesn't get development. Like, it's very obvious that there's an ideological bend to it, but at least it attempts to be more subtle than some other individuals I've seen write for Game Rant or, Games Radar or any of these other type of individuals. But it's still there. It's still alive and well. So why make this video? You might be asking yourself, Leon, yeah, we're all used to this. The internet's been doing this since like 2014. It's 2023. And I know that. The reason I make this video is to let you guys all know that every cultural victory we have, every culture war win, every time something comes out that is awesome. Today, I believe, is the day the Alex Jones game releases on Steam. That is hilarious. Yeah, Alex Jones game is on Steam. You still have people doing this. You still have the old guard grasping to their original ways. And I think that that's going to maintain a problem until we can suss it out, until we can fix it. And we need to keep calling attention to it. Now, do we need to go in with the ferocious veracity that we did, in 2016 or even as, earlier in 2020, 2021? Nah, at this point, we can kind of kick back and laugh, mock, and shame. I think that's going to be a far more prudent tool. And that's sort of what I'm doing here. I just find this article funny at this point because they still think this is a tactic for winning when anybody with any sort of common sense will be able to look at this and tell them otherwise. So, yeah, kick back, have a giggle, and be like, man, do radical third wave feminists actually still exist? And they're still trying to take over Resident Evil and all these other games. None of us gamers are having it. I guess we need to find out, though, are the companies behind the games still going to have it? And we'll find that out as we go forward with these new video game releases in 2024 and just see where the agenda lies. Because, boy, Spider-Man 2 was rough, and I really hope that Capcom isn't taking notes from them. But those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X, where you can find me at BoltTheWord. And please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day, and I guess what is nerdier than old news about a Resident Evil game that's already done its job? But whatever, Game Rant was talking about it. But I don't always cover video game news. I cover anything from music, movies, anime, Magic the Gathering, you name it. Check me out on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon. And remember, it's all here in the Nerdosphere. And this has been Words of Paradise.